Hi everyone, and welcome to Tuesday's Tips with Lauri. Today we're covering part 2 of a part 1 and 2 series of embellishments for your Vintage Boardwalk quilt. So I'm excited to share with you some hopefully really helpful tips today. As you can see, we're working kind of across the quilt here. We did these in our part 1, and part 2 are these cute little flip-flops with their flowers. These are just adorable. And then we're also going to be covering our towel that goes into our beach bags, as well as the towels that go into our bicycles. So to start with, I wanted to cover the pull flower part first. So you will have a couple of these strips, and they're called a pull flower, and they look just like this in your embellishment kit. So what you're going to do is you're going to take them and you're going to measure off. There's a yard of it. You're going to need 18 inches and 18 inches. So you're simply going to cut it in half. So to start with, I take the end, make sure that both ends have knots tied in them. And make sure that those knots are going to hold. And then I like to make it kind of a big knot on this other side. And once you're sure that this knot will hold, I'm going to give it a test try. Make sure you give it a test run. I just want to make sure that that's going to hold before I begin, because once this comes unthreaded, that's frustrating if that happens to you. Alright, to start with then, I'm going to just measure these because it's going to be going in half, and I find my halfway point, and then I'm going to pull up some extra string. So I've got a little bit of handle here to hang on to, and that's right where I'm going to also cut my flower. So I'm going to cut the pull string here, or the flower there, and the pull string right there in the middle. That way I've got something to grab on both ends for each one of these pull flowers. I'm going to set one of them down, and I'm going to just work with one pull flower at a time. These are really fun. The very first thing you do is you can just start pulling down that string while you're holding onto the string, and you gather it up. And this is a great way to feel like I'm crafty, right? This is easy to do. And then I simply take your flower, and you can gather it however you want. You can loop it around, you can just gather it into a ball, whatever you want it to look like. And you can just mess with that if you want. And this is how you would gather that. So now to finish it off, what I like to do, you can either take a needle and put a needle right on this thread right here, and you can sew it up and down through your flower and keep your flower nice and tight together while you're doing so. Or you can take a glue gun, and if you glue this, I just give it a couple little pieces of glue to hold it together to start with, so that I am not worrying that it's going to fall apart on me. So that's my back side, so make sure you're adding the glue to the side that you're not going to be seeing. And then the front side, as you can see, then my flower stays together. Okay, so like I said, you can either use a needle and thread through here, or you can use your flower and make it just like that and use glue. So if you were to glue, you can glue it on, or you can sew it on, and of course you would only do this at the end when it's already been quilted. I'm just showing you these particular squares because it's a little easier for filming purposes to show you on this instead of pulling this big quilt out. And I just wanted to show you that's where you would locate it. And then you can do the same thing with your button. Now you can just whip stitch the top of this with your thread, and that gives it the look of that it's being it's got thread, and you sewed your button on. And I'm just going to show you from here. Can you see how that, you can see that I've whip stitched the thread, and so you can see the thread right there on the top. And you can do that a couple of times if you want. And that way you can glue the button down onto the flower if you've already used glue, just like that. And then you would tie this off, and then you would simply attach that button with either glue, or you can sew it on if you sewed. So you've got your choice of whether you want to sew these on or if you want to glue them on, whichever works best for you. That's what I love about these, is you make it your own, and you can choose which way you would like to go in attaching that pull flower. Wasn't that fun? I love these pull flowers. These are great fun. And then you would just simply take your second pull flower and you would do the same thing. And you pull it down, and again you would attach it with either sewing or glue. All right, so I'm going to move along to our towels. We have had a few questions on towels. So the first thing is, you've taken your fabric and you do want to fold that fabric right sides together. So make sure it is right sides together on your towel. And this is the raw edge then, and this is the fold. So what you're going to do is you're going to stitch across, this would be the top and this would be the bottom. So you stitch a 1/4 inch seam along the top and along the bottom. So there is an opening, and the opening is your raw edge right here. Okay? Then you're going to take your, here's one I've already sewn as well. You're going to take it and you're going to flip it so it's the right sides are out. And this is going to become your towel. And it's okay that there's a raw edge, because that raw edge is tucked down inside. Then what I like to do is press it well. And this one I've pressed well, so it's ready to roll. Now, the rolling is very, very unique. It's up to you how you would like your towel to look. I like to do a slight angle, not a sharp angle like this, because if you do a sharp angle, let me just show you, when you roll it up, and you'll want to roll it pretty snug, it ends up like this, and we don't want it looking like that. We want it more of like you would roll a towel, but maybe not exactly perfectly, you know, because towels move around, but it's so cute. And so this is how, oh, I'm going to roll it from the bottom side. You can just sit and roll it until you have the way you like it to look. And I find if you roll from the raw edge up, then it gives it this look, and I like that a lot. So now that I've rolled it and I'm happy with my roll, that's what I'm going to keep. And so then you're going to take this over, and obviously this is the big towel, so this isn't for this particular pocket, but what you would do is you would slide it in the pocket and secure it in place. So I've got the small towel. Let's do it one more time with the small towel. So raw edge right here. So I'm going to start rolling at a slight angle from the raw edge. Alright. And that looks exactly like I want it to be. And then I'm going to tuck it inside my basket right here. And then I like to either tack it in place with a piece of thread if you want, or glue that in place. And you would also tack it right about there with a little tack of glue. And that is how we did our rolled towels in our cute little baskets on our bike, as well as your beach bag. Okay, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have a lot of fun stitching your Vintage Boardwalk quilt and getting those embellishments on. That's just the finishing touches that make it just exactly what you want, or this is what I want, because it's so, so cute. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye-bye.